It is back to school season, and many parents are feeling frustrated over preparations for their children or words to resume for the new academic session. The reason is not far-fetched. The economic situation in the country has affected school fees and fares, which have gone up by more than 70%. Besides, parents of students who are in the final year in secondary school have to contend with registration for public examinations conducted by the West African Examination Council WAEC, the National Examination Council NECO, and the National Business and Technical Examinations Board NABTEB. Now, reacting to the developments, the leadership of the Nigerian Union of Teachers NUT warned that education must not be taken out of the reach of the poor by university fee hikes and charges, and as such, stakeholders urged the federal government to subsidize education. They also called for the establishment of the Education Bank. All right, BKO, at this time, why should schools hike fees at this time? Is it fair?
If they don't hike fees at this time, when is the best time for them to hike fees? When? Because everyone is a victim of the cost of living crisis that we have. Everyone is hiking fees. What we don't want to see is to go over the top to do it. Employers of labor know now that their workers are going through a lot. Okay. People are increasing fees. People are increasing salaries, however marginal. People are increasing allowances so that their workers can stand a good chance of coping with what is on ground now, if I can use that street language. It's not funny out there. Prices of goods have hit the roof. Prices of services have hit the roof. Everything has gone up.
House rents.
House rents. And you know, people who set up schools, they didn't set up those schools for charity.
True, true.
They have bills to pay. How do they pay bills if inflation has completely messed up or wiped off their margin, their profit margin? If your profit was 500 million, let me put it in inverted commas, and you have to buy diesel every day to power the generators in your school, because you also don't want those children to receive instruction in a very unconducive environment. Okay. So schools will have chillers or even some of those little ceiling fans, at least to make the classroom cool, so that whatever instruction you are passing goes into the ears of the children. Because where the environment is unconducive, you are wasting your time. Nobody will be able to learn. So diesel, people buying diesel at 1,400, some cases 1,700 per liter. How do they get by?
Let's not forget if they were band A.
Band A. How do they get by if they do not increase school fees? At the time my youngest son got into his present school, we were paying 80,000 naira per term. Okay. This last one, my wife called me, although usually when they are going into a terminal class, they usually get you to pay a lot more because you now pay for like 2 terms or so. I was asked to pay about 436,000.
Hold on. From 80,000?
80,000 when he got into the school.
Into the school.
To 400?
Yes, 436. So if government permitted the schools to now charge us exorbitantly, even higher than the average rate in the US, who says school proprietors cannot also demand for higher school fees? It's extremely tough. They have buses. Those buses have to go and bring the students. In the past, Nigerian schools were hardly doing summer coaching. Summer coaching used to be done by different people, not the school. But the schools know now that if they don't organize summer coaching, they will find it difficult to pay their workers.
It's a way of generating
during those months, those 2 months. So the summer coaching is something they introduce so that you will still pay money, and then they will be in position to pay the salaries of their own workers. This is a difficult time to be an entrepreneur in our country. We just have to admit it. And all of these things revolve around the value of our currency. And I will keep saying it. Because I'm the last person who will admit that this is the true value of our currency. No. The CBN have not managed our currency very well, the CBN governor, and he knows it. He can argue all he wants. That is not the value of my country's currency. 1,600 and something? Come on. Okay, everything, diesel price that has gone up.
It's one of
it's tied to it.
Everything you talk about landing costs.
Landing costs, exactly.
Is because the currency is weak. This landing cost early last year was certainly not this high.
And what happened?
Because the naira slid in value between the time when the president, even when the president said, okay, we will now float our currency, it still was below 900 at a point. Suddenly from 900, we are now in 1,006, and we now have a convergence of rates, which means that the people managing our currency believe that this 1,600 is the right valuation for our currency. I will never agree. With a gun to my neck, I will never agree.
Then who will read the riot act to the CBN governor at this time?
No, the president is his employer.
The president should.
They've got to do a much better job because everything revolves around it. Okay, look at what is happening again. The president said, waivers. Let's have waivers for some food items. Okay. Do you know that has also worsened the value of the naira? Because it has led to a spike in the demand for forex. People want to bring in, they want to get forex and bring in these food items within the window.
Thereby putting pressure on
demand. Now it's gone to above 1,600. I am saying that, look, and I've said it before, that even China, a great economic power, as well as a military power now, tampers with its currency. Because if China deliberately, to the anger of the US, continues to undervalue its own currency so that it can use that to to push export. Because when their own goods are cheaper than the alternatives, more people will want to buy. So it's always countries that are into so much exports. When they devalue their currency, it is to their advantage because the buying countries will be, yes, they'll find it cheaper. It will be an incentive for them to buy more.
But in
the case of Nigeria, what are we exporting? We have yam. We produce a lot of yam, but we can't even export it because we've not found a way to preserve it for export.
Okay, let me...
So I'm just trying to explain to you that for these school owners, and I know that some of them, there's unfair competition that is going on. I know that some of them are unduly exploiting with the parents. Because there was a school that increased this cost of school uniform fourfold just because they want to see how the school fees can go up. How do you increase the cost of school uniform that high? It's good to put so much body on
you are
everybody.
Scaring me right now because I just got married and all of this
welcome on board.
It's scary. But anyway, let me
buy you. Do they still sell SMA gold? Who is a younger person?
I'm scared right now.
Those things now cost as much as minimum wage. 70,000, 65, 70. Yes, 65, 70,000.
I don't want to start sweating on
some kids can be falling. So let's a can in 1 week.
Let's talk about the issue of the enrollment and the issue of out-of-school children. Will this now not affect, looking at the face of a high number of out-of-school?
It's definitely...
People not drop out because of
It's definitely going to happen. And then some parents who still can't afford it will perhaps take their children from private schools that are expensive to cheaper ones or into public schools. It's a big issue. And let me just narrate something. I took time because something happened in my house. I bought power, and in 1 week, 50,000 naira I was told was gone.
Oh dear.
So what did I do? I went and printed the receipt, and I saw that we were on band A. And we are paying 209.3 per kilowatt. There is a school down the road, same estate.
Okay.
And I was wondering how that school that has air conditioner in all the classes is going to survive. So it means if I'm calculating that I'll be spending between 200,000 and 250,000 naira per month on electricity in the house. What happens in that school? That school also has buses, with which it brings students. So what happens?
Now, let's look at solutions.
Yes, solution for me.
What should the president? What should the president? They say the president should intervene.
It's not so. It's not just.
What exactly do you expect him to?
Everything doesn't go that. The president can say everything.
The box can pass his table.
Everything can go back to him. Those who are working with him must have their own initiative. One of the things being proposed by the Ministry of Power for higher institutions now is to intervene and get 50% off electricity cost. And I'm saying that's still not the solution. Because what you are doing is you are still subsidizing. You are taking the cost of the schools and giving it to the government. Can we get all, for instance, in those schools, all students who are studying engineering to do compulsory
projects
around generating electricity? All our lecturers who are always running abroad to go and spend test fund money on projects that are not useful to us, they should sit down with those students and develop what our institutions can use, devoid of this our so-called grid.
Each of the big schools
they can do it.
Come up with renewable energy.
Let's do something.
Funds.
No. It's not even about funds.
Research.
There are students who are reading electronics engineering. That is what they are paying to read in school. Can they do projects along that line? I don't know if you understand me. Instead of sending them, and then you can then get to the point where, for instance, we are planning CNG buses. We know it doesn't come off the shelf. It's not something you go and buy, and they can extend it to some of these schools at this level. If not, this education thing is going to get out of the reach of virtually all parents. If BKO is complaining...
I think big schools like Unilag, AB and the rest of them, they can do renewable energy.
Yeah.
Focusing on solar.
Wind, sun, all of it there.
We have plenty sun now.
Our lecturers are always complaining.
I believe it is possible. There was, in fact, a man, Professor Awojobi, who created a car You know, he built a car, the Autonom.
They should get into it and
so I
let
think
things
this
work.
can.
They should get into it and let it
can
work.
invest in it on a sustainable basis. Because one of the universities was owing the discourse about $1 billion naira.
1.3 billion. 1.3
on electricity alone. So how do they pay? How do they pay? Universities don't get that level of funding that you can then go and spend like $1 billion on electricity.
You know?
No, other things will suffer.
Instead of constructing buildings.
For me, I'm happy that they said, okay, hospitals, universities, 50% discount on electricity. You see, this, we cannot totally discountenance subsidy. After all, even in some of those countries, the Scandinavian countries, education at all levels is free. At all levels. I saw a Nigerian official saying that education is the cheapest in Nigeria. I said, look at this one. In some of those Scandinavian countries, you don't pay a dime for electricity. But the tax, they are prepared to take 50% tax from your income.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Fund
on your income, they'll take out 50% tax. And in those countries, in some of those countries, the punishment for tax evasion is worse than the punishment for manslaughter. They don't joke with it because you will enjoy. And look at it. Even crime wave is very low in some of those countries, Norway, Finland. In fact, one of those countries, Spain, had to send their own prisoners to help them put them in the slammer because their prisons are literally empty. Why do you want to steal?
Okay.
Why do you want to steal?
All right.
Actually, everything that you want government is doing for you. But your tax on your income.
Well, at least you get to enjoy it.
Yeah, of course.
But that's the thing.
But anyway, we'll continue with this conversation right after this break. Journalists, hang out.